Good day, everyone. Welcome to another episode of DOTAG Diary of this Ambitious Guy. It's been a while. It's been a while. I think it's over 2 months. Is it over 2 months or a month now? I don't know. It's just been a long time that I've released an episode, and that was because I just decided to take a break from a lot of things and kind of reprioritize what's like most important for me. And yeah, this podcast is very important to me, and more or less is more for myself than for you guys. Well, anyways, but really, and I felt like I just needed to bring it back up and continue the whole journey. And yeah, I'm back again. Even though a lot of people have reached out, are like, we have not heard from you for a while and all that. Yeah, I am, guys. So you'll be hearing a lot of my voice as time goes on. So more episodes will be coming as I know when ready. We'll get those episodes online and please listen. Thank you. Okay, so in this episode, I have a special guest, a friend of mine. I was just looking at doing the bit of calculation today. Like I've known this person for almost 12 years. Funny enough, almost 12 years. Like wow, that's been a long time. Let's say 6 years university days and 6 years secondary school days, something like that. Roughly like just 12 years. That's been a long time, and I'm happy to have him on the show. And his name is James Falola. Falola James, and he will be sharing some pretty interesting topic today. And I would just want him to just introduce himself because he will be the best person to be able to introduce himself well to the house. So, James, would you like talking a bit about yourself?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ife. Hi, guys. Good evening. My name is James Falola. What do I say about myself? Oh yeah, I'm a software engineer. As we all know, that means I do usually write code sometimes. So yeah, I'm a software engineer. Currently leading B2B team engineering team at Yellow Card. Uh, I'm not going to do an ad for Yellow Card, but if you want to exchange your digital assets for Naira, that's what we do. And yeah, when I'm not working, I support the current FA Cup champions, Manchester United. They should be in the championship, but it's a team that we keep exceeding expectations. So we're not in the
uh,
championship. We're still in the Premier League. So that's what I do. And yeah, I won't. I think that's really all I can say about myself. Been programming for a few years now, which is it's kind of funny because when I tell people I've been programming for like 8 years, it seems very
wow.
it seems something it's something I say to myself like, oh, interesting, 8 years. I think I think my mathematics could be wrong actually. It's been like 9 years. Because like 2015, that was when I got my boot camp certificate for programming. So yeah, that's what I do mostly. I write code and I yell at my TV when my U is playing. So nice to meet that. Good to be here. Thank you very much for having me, Ife.
Yeah, it's good to have you, James. Honestly. And what you said earlier about yellow card, I don't mind yellow card. I don't mind advertising yellow card on DOTAG. So please, DOTAG is
Yeah,
looking for for sponsors. You guys can
yeah,
come and sponsor one of the episodes. I really don't mind.
that's why I didn't want to say anything because there's like marketing and whatnot. I just write the code, so I don't want to. I don't. I don't want to do ad that they didn't send me to do.
I
You
get
get.
you. I get you.
Yeah, but if it's something you want to talk about, I can see. I think I know some people in marketing, so I could.
Hmm.
But yeah, we can chat about that offline.
Okay, I'll be
Yeah,
so glad to do that.
awesome.
So yeah, and congratulations on Manchester United finally going back to the Europa because I was like, because in my head I was like, these people, I think they need to learn their lesson. I'm not
Yeah,
even qualified for anything,
yeah.
but
See,
as God will have
see.
it.
That's why I said they've exceeded expectations because
Petitions.
I actually didn't want us to go anywhere. So we focused on just playing football next season. Because like now the Europa thing now we have to sign players, have to like
Yeah.
account for team. Let's just try to play football. Let's try to like because I think that's one thing they are suffering from. They don't
Hmm.
know how to actually play football. So like, but we'll see what happens. We are all excited. We'll see what
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah, hopefully something greater, probably a new coach or some new set of players can help change things around, something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, something like that.
Okay. So just like an icebreaker, I'm going to be playing something. I'm going to play something. I know you didn't expect it. I'm going to play it, and
Okay,
I want to know your um opinion concerning it.
okay. If just to heads up, if it is music, I don't have the best taste in music, so
Don't
I
worry.
might not be the
Don't worry.
best person to ask about
Don't
music.
don't worry. Once you hear this,
Okay,
you will get
okay.
it.
Let's have it. Let's have it.
So let me know from your side if you can hear it.
Okay.
Nigeria, we hail thee, our own dear native land. Though tribes and tongue may differ, in
Oh my god.
brotherhood we stand. Nigerians all are proud to serve
Oh my
our
god.
sovereign
Interesting.
motherland.
Thank you. So,
Yeah. I'm, I,
yet do we even start from now?
I'm going to tell you something interesting about that. I
Okay.
Number one, I've never heard anyone sing the quote and unquote new national anthem. The only reason
Mm,
why I know it's the new national anthem is because I think I've heard people like when I was much younger say
mm-hmm.
like that phrase of Nigeria, we hail thee or
Yeah.
something. So that's how I can tell it's our new national anthem. But in terms of hearing people, knowing the lyrics, hearing it being sung, never. But I
Mm.
can tell it's our national anthem. And my
This.
opinion,
Okay.
it's going to take me another like the first one we had took me like 5 or 10 years to learn. So that's my opinion. This one is going to take me another 10 years. And back then, remember there was practice. Like you had to sing it
Mm-hmm.
every morning, and that. So I'm guessing maybe till I'm in like my 50s, I'll probably know it by the time I'm 50. That's all I can say.
Oh my god. It's just like it was so we have this family chat group, right? And that was like where my dad sent it and I was like, okay. I've just been hearing this old new national anthem thing. Let's just listen to it. Then I listened to it like, oh okay. Okay. Yeah, I don't think I'm learning this anytime soon.
Yeah, but
Honestly.
that's a good thing. We don't have to learn it. That's the good
Mm,
thing. We
mm,
don't have to because I can't remember the last time I actually sang the national anthem.
mm,
And yeah, maybe when we were in OAU or something, doing one of
yeah.
those departmental stuff,
Mm-hmm.
maybe. But yeah,
Mm.
that's a good thing. So we should be happy about it. But the downside is now we kind of have to learn it because when you start having kids, we have to teach your
Of
children
course not.
the national anthem. So it
Yeah.
would be bad to say like, oh, Uncle James doesn't know the national anthem. But we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out
Yeah.
as time goes on.
So like I was just seeking I'm not seeking. I had like a conversation with someone over the weekend that's last week, and person was telling me kind of the propaganda behind this national anthem and all
Hmm.
that
Interesting.
the thing is they intentionally wanted to change people's focus because they know Nigerians, the way Nigerian works is, or the way
Yeah.
Nigerian behavior is this. Once something bad happens, we are also focused on it. Just
Yeah.
wait
On to
for
the
like
next thing.
1 minute until once something fun happens again, everybody's attention shifts
Yeah.
from the main thing and shifts to that. So it's more
Yeah.
or less like maybe probably this regime has anticipated a lot of uprising or what do they call it, strike that might be coming up from the people,
Yeah. For
and all
sure.
that, and they just needed something that people can like they just need a way to kind of unite everybody again and keep their focus on
One
something else.
one voice.
On something that
Yeah.
like because I felt like what is the rationale behind changing? Did we complain that the national anthem we don't like it, or was it that somebody like what was like that rationale besides saying let us sign this national anthem into law and all that? What was that rationale? Because I just could not get it. But
Yeah.
based on this conversation with this person was like the rationale behind it is just to make sure everybody's attention is shifted from what is literally happening in the country. That's the economy, whatever, the price of things getting more expensive, life becoming a bit less easy to live and all that, and just take
Yeah.
everybody's attention to this. You will see for the next 1 month. That is what everybody will be talking about. This national
Yeah,
anthem.
yeah,
This national
100%. Yeah.
anthem.
And
and
by the time we're done talking about national anthem, hopefully one new thing would have happened.
would
Maybe
have happened
BBN,
again.
BBN would start or something. Big Brother would start, and yeah,
So it's yeah, like first of all, like politics in Nigeria, politicians, they really know how to move the needle to their favor one way or the other, because this thing passed through from local assembly to national assembly to the president signing it. Like, come on, guys. Like, why it is very easy to be able to sign in a national anthem law, and it's so difficult to be able to sign in increment of whatever it is. Maybe it's a minimum wage or payment for doctors or all those kind of. It takes a lot
yeah,
for national anthem that can go like almost immediately. So just like no, it's crazy. Anyways,
yeah.
that's not what we are here to discuss.
Yeah, yeah. If you're to discuss Nigeria, we would probably not live here, but there's a
Yeah.
lot to discuss.
Ah, good. True. So guys, today we one major thing we're gonna be talking about is childhood dreams, and I'm pretty sure if you are listening to this podcast, I don't know your age, but most likely you had a childhood lifestyle at some point. Maybe it was like a 5 years ago experience, or 10 years ago, or it might even be more than that. But you at some point were a child, and you had dreams, and we just wanted to just myself and James, we just want to just talk about childhood dreams. What was it like? And comparing your childhood dream or your childhood life to what it is right now, and how far away are we from the dreams that we had as a child to what we are currently doing at the moment, honestly. So it's just a discussion I would like us to have. And yeah, so my first question, James.
Okay.
So my first question is this: what was like your earliest memory, the earliest memory for you as a child? Like, when they say James was a child, what was like the first memory that comes to your mind, that you remember, that you remember doing as a child?
Okay. Yeah, there's this thing where people, like, I don't know if you've heard people make this joke of like, out of nowhere we just become
Mhm.
conscious at like age 3 or 4. I've
Mhm.
seen memes about it, like 0 to 4 nothing, then at age 4 you're just all of a sudden you're conscious, something like that. But for me, the earliest memory I have as a child, it actually goes maybe like 2 or 3 year old,
Okay.
maybe that early. But I remember the earliest memory I have is we're living at our former house in LALA in a BQ, and my mom had just finished like bathing me, and I was on the bed waiting for her to bring. I was asking where the Goya oil was. I think that's the earliest thing I remember as being a child, and I must have been very young for her to be, running my bath. And it was even before we lived in like the bigger building inside the same compound. We lived in like the BQ, so it was just myself, my mom, my sister, and my dad, just 4 of us. So I was probably 2 or 3 then. That's the earliest memory I have of being a child. So it's been a very, very long time. I just suddenly woke up and realized, oh well, I'm a human being. So yeah, that's my earliest memory.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
for me, it was like I just remember I had a lot of people around. That's one thing I remember. I knew there was a lot of people around, like in terms of, apart from my immediate family, we had some other set of people who stayed with us. So
Yeah.
it was a crowded place. Like, that was the first thing I remember that I can remember right now. I knew there were a lot of people around. My parents were around. I had like some extended families, cousins that were around. Some of my uncles were around also. So then and I knew that there's always somebody available. Let me just put it that way. There's always somebody
Mhm.
to, maybe this might not be 2 years, but maybe like 4 or 5 years. Probably I don't remember. I was like 2 years when I was 2 years old. 4 or 5 years. I sure knew there was always somebody at home, someone to talk to. There was
Oh,
yeah. So I was surrounded by
yeah.
people at a very very young age. so,
Hmm.
so the house was
like
always very
like like a
bubbly.
fa- Like a family house.
Yeah, something like that exactly. So
Yeah.
I those were like some of like my earliest memories of being a child and everything. There was always somebody to play with that time. I think I remember my cousin was around, Victor. He was like the first person I kind of related with when I was young. That I know there's a way there are ways child relates. If you put two child together, like boy maybe two boys, they form this friendship bond right from the very
Yeah.
beginning at the very young age. So
Yeah.
I can remember
Yeah.
that I had that bond with someone when I was young, and that person was my cousin, and that was because our house was accommodation had a lot of people around. So those are like some of my early memories that I can remember in
Yeah.
that sense. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
early memory is kind of weird, where you kind of
mhm,
try to remember, is there anything I can remember before this
yeah.
moment, and
Mhm,
you just draw blanks. It's crazy.
yeah. It's sometimes like look. I was saying something to myself that there's this particular statement or particular scenario that my mom keeps telling me about my childhood. I don't remember doing it, but she has said it so much that it has now become a scenario in my head that I felt like I was part of that scenario. Like someone saying, I don't know if you watch some that there are these movies that sci-fi movies where it be like somebody had like a memory loss, and they tell you that okay, this was what you did at some particular point, and you'll be like,
Yeah.
I can't remember doing remember
Yeah,
doing this
yeah,
thing, but they say it so much that it now feels like okay, maybe I actually did it.
yeah. They
It-
say it so much, it becomes like you build a memory around it because of how much
exactly.
people have said it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So because there's this memory of her telling me that when we were young, myself and my cousin, we were running
yeah.
around the house with this what do they call it now? This thing that they use on Christmas, um, that the light that is all disco light. Is it disco light?
Disco light. Yeah.
That we're playing around with it in the house. That we played around with it so much that we burnt a curtain in the so like I'm still like I can't remember doing it, but she said it so much that now I went out. She said I just agree. I feel myself even playing around the house. Like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I remember. And in the
Yeah.
real sense, I don't. But she said
You
it so much
probably
that
even Yeah, you
yeah,
probably even tell people that, oh, when I was small, I burnt this cotton,
I've
even
I've,
though you
I've
have
done.
no memory.
Yeah, I've,
Yeah,
I've done that before. I have done that before, and sometimes people like, "Guy, do you even remember doing something? remember doing something like that?" So, yeah, childhood in a way can be very interesting. Sometimes, when time I
yeah,
walk around in my street and I see some couple of children playing, I'm like, oh my god, I remember doing this. I remember doing this. So there are some songs that they sing, like, this is. I remember this song. Like, these people still sing
people still sing this song.
this song at this age. Like wow. So like for you now, what was like the role of friendship? What were like your early memories about friendship in childhood for you?
Mm,
Like what were like your first set of friends in childhood? You can name names if you don't want to name names, that's fine. But
yeah, I'm trying to remember properly because one thing I remember now is when I
mhm,
was in primary three, I had a
okay,
friend called Victor. He
okay.
was like my earliest, quote unquote best friend.
Mm-hmm.
Earliest best friend memory that I have. But before then, in our compound, we had neighbors. So I think I was friends with them. They were much older than I was, but I think we're all friends. We always played around. So there was Baba and Femi and some of our other neighbors. Can't remember their names.
Mm,
But yeah, I like my earliest memory would be like if I want to remember a friend, that would be Victor. Because we had the same kind of shirts. Can't remember
okay.
what the name on the shirt was, but I liked the shirt so much that when someone stole it, I think I cried. But we eventually found it. But that's discussion for another day. But we had the same type of shirt that we bonded over, and I was in primary three. And
Mm,
yeah, that's my earliest memory. I think we were friends before primary three, but for some reason, primary three is what when I think it all started. So yeah,
mm,
it was a very like I still remember everything about the guy, and I think I saw him like recently in OAU. He came for
oh,
like internship or something at Interco. So like I
Okay.
remember his dad was like a mopole, his mom was a teacher back
Okay.
in primary school. I remember so many things, but yeah, it was my earliest, memory of a close friend. Then from there, I had other friends that were like in my streets, in my mom's shop. There was
Mm,
Timmy's brother, Sheyi. I've had so many friends, but like the earliest ones were from Victor, then Timmy. Those were like my
mm.
earlier memory of friends. And that's a very good question because I'm trying to remember and putting everything together now. It's so interesting. Yeah.
And what was like the last time you kind of had like maybe you called them or reached out or you guys even met or something? Was it has that happened recently?
Okay, one thing that would come out during the course of this podcast is I'm not really a good friend, but I'm a good friend in my own way, right? I'm there for my friends. I'm always very supportive, and like I'm a very good friend, but not the kind of good friend that would call every now and then to catch up. I'll prefer if we see each other and we
Mm-hmm.
talk. So the last time I saw Victor was 2021. It was
Okay.
not a very pleasant way of meeting because I was getting stopped by police. That was when I
Okay.
just started driving. So in Ife, police were showing
Mm,
me shege. So he
mm,
also got stopped, and we had like this brief, like very brief catch up. We even exchanged numbers from where police stopped the two of us. That's where Nigeria is now.
mm,
But yeah, it was like the last time I saw him, and I think since then we've had a few chats here and there, like. But the reason why I'm saying I am not a quote unquote good friend is because like I don't always see the need to bother people
mm.
by like it's a good thing to do, and I try
Yeah.
to you know stay close to people, check their status. People underrate checking people's status as like a way of checking up on people, but that's my
Mm,
own way. So if I don't hear from them in a while, I can then reach out. But yeah, we've had conversations from there, just catching up, like, oh, how your side now, how
mm,
are things going, stuff like that. And yeah, don't remember. I think Victor is the only one I've had conversation with recently. My
okay.
other earlier friends actually have no idea where they are. But
Yeah.
the Yoruba normally say Ogun Omode o kin sere fogun odun or something. People would go separate ways. But I would
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
to, yeah, I would love to see my earlier friends again and catch up with them, see how they are doing.
Yeah. Literally, you're not the only one.
Yeah.
Like for me, the first friend, apart from my cousin, like the first friend that I had outside the family was Ibukun Ogunfowokon. That was like, and that was because we're neighbors.
Fermi's
Yeah,
brother.
Ferrum is an elder brother, exactly.
Yeah.
So it was like the first friend I had then, and that was because we're in the same community barracking at that point. So and no, his house was just like a stone throw from my house. We could even like be greeting each other from the fence. That was how close the house was.
Yeah.
And
Cotter's house.
so and the last time I saw him, ah, I don't know. It's been like maybe 2 or 3 years now that I've seen him, and like even like from apart from even seeing physically, even spoken, it's been a while. I don't even know if he's even in Nigeria or not at the moment. So I have no idea. So and I think hearing this, I think maybe I'll reach out to him very soon, just also check
Yeah.
on him, like how's he doing, what's up now, and everything.
Yeah.
Because I remember I one of the earliest memory with him was I remember going to his house. Do you remember these DVD games? Like is this Sega? No, 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 it's not Sega. There's I don't know if there's this DVD that you
Is
buy.
it 20 in 1?
Yeah,
Is it that
exactly.
20 in 1
Exactly.
that
All those
comes with the CD?
yeah,
When
exactly
you
that.
buy a DVD, it comes
Yeah.
with it. Yeah.
So that was like that was like the first set, like that was the first way we bonded over like immediately from church IBK's house. We will play that till like around 6, 7. Then from there come to
Crazy.
the
Crazy. We've all done it.
so like those were like my early memories. Then from there, moved to secondary school. We were in the same secondary school. Then it was I think secondary school after when we wrote jam. He got it at the first trial. He got elected like at the first trial. Then
Yeah.
I had to wait behind. I had to go for PDQ because I didn't get that at the first trial. So from that moment, it kind of was a bit shaky in that sense. So because he was
Yeah.
already in school, I was still at B degree and all that. So the whole we could not see each other face to face anymore, and
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
hardly call and all this kind of. So I'm also like you. If someone has even accused me of that today, that
Yeah. But
you don't even used to call, you
yeah,
don't call
but
someone.
I get accused of that a
Mm,
lot, right? Even by like family, friends, and family
mm-hmm.
members, like, oh, you don't call, you don't. But to me, they probably see it as like, oh, you've quote and unquote forgotten us, or like you
Mm-hmm.
don't want to talk to us. But to me, when we see each other, I'm always like, the vibe hasn't died, right? Like
Mm,
the time I saw Victor, the first time I saw him in OAU when he was interning at Interco, I think that was like his IT period. Like we really, you would think we've seen each other like last month or something. The bond was still there. We're still like, obviously we've grown apart, like we're different
mm-hmm.
people, but we're still very, very happy to see each other. And that's how I
Yeah.
am, right? Even if I don't catch up with you, that reminds me I have to call someone that I forgot. She like the person called me, but I forgot to call her back to
Mm,
catch up. I'll have to call her after this call. Thanks for
mm,
reminding me. But like when we see, the vibe is always there. Like I don't have it in like, oh, we've not spoken in like. I think it's even better when we don't see for a while, which is it's still.
mm.
I'm not saying it's a good thing. Please disclaimer. Whatever we say, we're just catching up. We're not saying you should go practice it. If something works for, if you're the type that catches up with your friends, please do
Mm,
it. It's a very, very good thing to do. I have cases
mhm.
where I regretted not catching up with people. But
Yeah.
to me, when we catch up like that once in a while, kind of catch up, and we get to talk, there's always more content and it feels more
Hmm.
interesting
Yeah,
that
there's a
way
lot to
compared
talk
to like,
about.
yeah, compared to just, making it every few now and then. We
Hmm.
catch up, then it's like, oh, all right, now later, like, wait for something to happen. Like, chill small. Let's like, I will just you. That's how I am. Like when we talk, like it's even Iano, that is still
Mm,
like my very good friend now. I
yeah.
don't think we talk like that, apart from when we are abusing our about from Eric and most of the conversation we do is on the group. Apart from then, we
Yeah.
probably just call like once in a few months just to catch up on stuff like, oh, this and that. And when we get to meet physically, I think it's usually much interesting that way compared
Mm.
to that's what works for me. So if something else works for every other person, they should continue doing it. But yeah, I just feel like that bond would not go away because we don't catch up. But when we do, we make it a very, very good catch up.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree with you. Honestly, yeah.
Yeah.
They said scarcity brings value.
Hmm.
So as I said,
Definitely.
please don't take it by my words, guys.
Don't
Please, if you need to,
don't don't try this at home. Don't
please,
try
if you
this
need
at
to reach
home.
out to someone, reach out. Don't
Yeah,
wait
for sure.
till like the very dead end or stuff like that. You can
Yeah.
just give a call. Hi, how you doing? I just had to check on you, or just a message. Can just even be enough
Yeah.
if you are not
Yeah.
ready to talk and all that. So
Yeah.
so there's this question that I want to ask them. Was there like a particular person or persons now, one or two in your childhood that made you feel especially loved or supported, and how were they able to impact you? Maybe there was a particular
Mm,
person that you felt like the love that this person
mm.
showed me was just, you know, way beyond and probably impacted you in a way or the other.
Yeah, that's a good question. So the obvious answer, there's one obvious answer. It's one of your parents, right? It's usually one of your parents. But I'm going to take the parent out of it now and
Mm,
go like as early as possible. I'm going to include the parents eventually, but I want
yeah.
to take my dad and my mom out of it. But
Mm,
growing up, right, when I was in primary school, I had a math teacher. I'm trying to remember his name. If it's Oyewole, yes, it's Mr. Oyewole. He was like a very different kind of teacher in the sense that he was very, very supportive, and like he knew my mom, he knew my like he taught my sister as well. But he used to like we used to see my mom knew him very well, and we used to see him a lot, just
mm,
passing by. And like he wasn't like other teachers that would just like, oh, your son is like, you know when your teachers see your parent, what they want to say, like, oh, I'm on stubborn girl or something. He wasn't like that, to be honest. He
mm,
was always saying something nice. And I was not like a nice student like that. I won't even lie. I remember
mm,
I wasn't like a very like a pleasant student,
mm,
but I was just, trying my best then. I think I was good in it was primary school, so like he was just always saying something good about me, like I did something nice, or like, oh, I'm the one that was teaching some, like it was always very good to hear. I can't remember the specific things he used to say, but I know like every time he saw my mom, he used to say very, very good things. And I think recently my mom told me she saw I think he got married. When I say recently, this was probably like maybe 5, 6 years ago
Second.
when my mom saw him and he asked about me. So like he was just someone I like. This is just what comes out of like what comes straight to my mind. He's someone I remember that was always very, very supportive, and it was very nice to me. And in class, it was different. Obviously, he was still my teacher in class. But like,
Yeah.
I like the fact that every time he sees my mom, he wasn't always my teacher. It was always a very nice teacher. He wasn't always like, oh, like he did this, he did that. He was always saying one good thing or the other. So that was someone I remember. So I won't say maybe loved. I would say maybe supported. But in terms of loved and supported, then I have to bring like my parents, like my actual parents. But if I'm to pick one of them, I would say my dad was not always with us. Like he traveled a lot when I was younger. So, but he was still always there in terms of like showing that he loves us and stuff. And like I'm going to focus more on the supporting, because when I started programming, he got me my first laptop like
Oh, nice.
2015 when I went to the boot camp. So it was the one that even, I think we'll get to that part of the conversation in terms of like childhood dreams, but it was the
Yeah.
one that changed how my trajectory actually, it was one that changed my path basically, because I was going towards something else, and he was always like, oh, I'm very good at this computer thing, right? That was literally what he called it then. Like, oh, I'm very good at this computer thing, and maybe I should try this thing and try that. And yeah, that was what made me change course back then. So I was always very, very supportive, and showing, oh, you should try this. And I remember something funny, because 2015 I was in the boot camp where I learned programming, right? So I used to do websites. Let's call it websites, right?
Okay.
I would show him, and he would be like, "Oh, that's very nice." It was not. I can tell you, it was not nice. It was, yeah, it was not nice. But he was always telling me it was very nice, and I was always like very, very happy. So like in terms of being supported, I would say yeah, it was my dad. But being loved, my mom was, if your mom is always your mom. She's one. So I think we take mom's love for granted, maybe. But she's always there. Like if you need something, she'll be there for you. She'll like, yeah, my mom was, she was, because my dad wasn't always around, so it was just she was just always very, very loving, and taking care of us was, I think it was something we all probably on like we didn't appreciate enough when I was growing up. But like looking back on it, you have to think like, oh, one person taking care of 4 kids, and she
Yeah.
did her best. So yeah, those are my memories of. Yeah, I know I've broken the rule. I've mentioned 3 people, but
No, 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 no.
it's just that it was coming to my head.
No, it's fine, really, because
Yeah,
the last episode I even did before this, what the person I brought on the episode was my mom, and
nice.
I just wanted her to, I wanted her to, I wanted to hear from her own side of things, how life was, how she felt taking care of us from when we were
Yeah,
young. And I just felt she just needed that medium to be able to say the stuff that are on her mind. I feel she's not the most expressive person in the world in terms of
yeah.
speaking. So, and I just wanted to just give her that opportunity. Mom, come say what you're feeling. Let me know how you're feeling and all those kind of things. And
Yeah,
I really do appreciate her, that like I do, just as you have mentioned, the love is there. My dad, I love my dad too. um Dad, if you are listening to this, I love you. So the thing about him also is, when my early memories of him is, he travels a lot. He's a business person. He's also into computer. He's he had one. There's a business he had then, so he was also into computer. All these getting computers, delivering computers. So he travels a lot. Most of the time, he shuffles Lagos, Ife, Ibadan, Lagos. So he travels a lot. So my early memories was of him not also being around in that sense. early memories, but it got to a point all that reduced, and it was now more available and all those
Yeah.
kind of thing. So I that I appreciate about both of them. So my early childhood, that was it. Then for somebody external from my parents was one of my uncles, Uncle Yinka. I can say my love for music at the moment is because of him. Of course, my mom also, but more because of him. And he lived with us then when we were young. So, and he exposed my mind to music in that sense. And that
Nice.
it's possible for you to be able to enjoy songs, possible for you to be able to sing songs, and just the love for that for music. And I'm grateful for that till now. Like I still appreciate music. Any chance I get to be able to, be where there's music is being played, or I love it, and I'm happy that he lived with us during that period. He exposed me to that, and that has helped. That has impacted my life till now. So
Nice.
so
Yeah, yeah, I like that. I like that. Very
so
nice.
do you have like any early memory, happy memory of a child? Maybe if you remember, there was a point when you were a child that you were so happy. You felt like, okay, this nobody can do anything better than this for me again. Like
Okay.
you
Okay.
like maybe there were those kind of happy moments when you were a child.
Okay. So I have one
Okay.
that just came to my head now. Like I said, I'm just going to be saying the first thing that comes to mind. So the first thing that comes to mind is growing up, I loved bread and egg, which
Mm.
is very, very, you know, and I think it's a funny thing to say out loud that you love bread and egg because people won't take you seriously if your favorite if your favorite food is bread and egg. But yeah, growing up, I loved bread and egg so
Mm,
much that Saturday was always my happiest day
mm,
because we eat bread and egg on Saturdays. So that's the earliest memory of being extremely happy was
mm,
waiting till it was Saturday to eat bread and egg. So we used to eat bread, egg, and would make tea. So it was just so nice because in my house we had a rule where we must get the freshest bread. Like
mm,
wherever it is in Ife, we always get the freshest bread. So we've gone through different iterations of bread makers where this is what I'm saying. It's my earliest happy memory because it's
mm,
something we've been doing since I was probably 3 years old or something. So since
mm,
since very very little, and we did it till I left my mom's house because it's something we did, every Saturday. I used to look forward to eating bread and egg, and up until when I left, I was still always looking forward to eating bread and egg because the egg would just slap differently. We always
mm.
get the freshest bread, so I trust my mom to look for we've gone through different iterations of bread makers in the sense that if we start eating a particular brand and it is not doing it for us again, like my mom would oh yeah, these people have changed their bread, so we have to look
Mm.
for another people.
Yeah.
Like I think when I was God, we've looked for bread in weird ways. Like we would go on Friday evening. There was a time where Yale bread or Yale bread,
Yeah.
depending on which part of
Please, yeah,
if
Leo,
you're a
please.
posh person, you say Yale. We were not posh, we say Yale
Yeah,
bread.
Leo.
So that Yale bread was so fresh. When they first started making it, I don't know if you remember when they first started making it. So it was
Mm.
always fluffy and fresh. So
Yeah,
we
yeah,
would
yeah.
go out on Friday evening to go buy the bread we would eat on Saturday morning. So we'll buy one carton used to have maybe six of those small bread. We'll buy one carton for the whole house. Then and when we're done with Yale bread or Yale bread, when we're done with
Mm.
them, we moved on to the next. And I remember there was time we're eating, there was one bread we're eating. I can't remember the name.
Is it value? There's one
We've
value bread.
I'm pretty sure we've had value before at some point. We've had different but there was one particular one that we liked so much, and the week we had the bread and it was bad. Like it wasn't up to our standard of freshness. We were
Mm.
very Saturday was our day of bread, so we're very particular about our bread. My mom was so disappointed that she gave them a call. I can't even remember, was it to
You're
tell them
serious.
their bread? Yeah, yeah. It was either to tell them their bread was not good or their bread was very good. One of the two. But I
Mm.
remember, in where my mom stays now, like the BQ, when she was still at the BQ, she called them that Saturday morning after we had their bread. That's yeah, bread and egg and tea were
Mm.
usually the happy moment for me as a child. And the other one I remember is there was a day I found 200 naira in one of my jean shorts when I was
Mm,
washing it. This was probably when I was in primary 5 or GSS 1. I found 200 naira and I was
mm.
so happy that what I did with the 200 naira, I think I bought a game disc. That was when we used to buy game disc.
Yeah, yeah,
So I
yeah.
bought a game disc with the 200 naira. I went to my friend's house. We played the game, and yeah, that was another happy memory I can remember now. But yeah, there's been a lot of, but those are not the happiest I've been because now I'm
Mm,
just trying to say I had a sad childhood. Those are not the happiest I've been.
mm,
But in terms of the earliest ones I can remember, those were the ones like that stands out. Bread and egg, you will see me there every Saturday. I'm
mm.
always there. What
For,
about
for,
for you?
for like bread was a struggle. It is a first come first serve kind of. I said I lived in a very large like
Yeah.
household. Like, so if they should buy bread today, if you are not very fast, forget that bread is gone.
Uh,
Just- the point I started enjoying bread in the house was the point where like all the extended family that were staying with us had gone. And it was just like my mom, my dad, and my two elder brothers. That was the moment I said, okay, so like that it's possible for you to have bread and you will still eat it the following day. But when we're still a lot, no. If there's bread in the house, it's gone. Just know. Then when they bought it when you're not around, by the time you come back, it's gone. So bread was not really like for me. It was not really like a fun thing for me because I did not really get to enjoy it when I was very young.
oh,
And
oh,
but one of the happy memories that I remember was there's a time my dad he traveled out. He went for at his workplace. They needed somebody to just go and represent them at the workplace. He traveled out basically. So when he came back, he got me this car. This I can't remember my age at that point. I literally can't remember my age. He got me this toy car. They call it RC car now. I didn't know it was even anything like RC car at that point in time. They got me this toy car. When he came and presented it, I remember I carried that in and I was shouting in the whole house. Like, yes, like I was screaming. Ah, I was like I've never felt that kind of joy
joy.
in that sense. Like, look at this now. Let me explain to you. You're in a house where there are a lot of people. You don't necessarily have something that belongs to you. Do you get? Now
Yeah,
you
yeah,
it is usually it's a family thing. Everybody Bobala journey. Sorry for those that don't understand Yoruba. It means it's everybody that owns it in that sense because of the kind of there's nothing that is very personal to you. So the
yeah.
the reason why I was actually happy was not, yes, it was because of the car, but the fact that it is my it is
Your own
my
car.
own. Do you get? So that was the joy that I had. And I remember our compound where we stay was quite big. Yeah, very early in the morning, I'll have battery. I usually save money to buy batteries. That is the only thing. Like save money, buy batteries, save money, buy batteries because I just needed to be putting battery inside the car to be able to drive it around. The car spoiled. I remember one of the tires, the front tires spoiled. I
Yeah.
went to buy super glue to gum it. This thing is not spoiled yet. You can't spoil
Engineering student.
it. You get, so that
Born
was
an
like
engineer.
because that was like where it all started. That was like the one of the happiest moments. I know there have been a lot more, but that was like one of the happiest moments that I can remember as a child. That that I was very happy with what happened to me. And moving on from there, like an offshoot of that. Now, what has there been any moment where you felt scared or worried or let me just say misunderstood, or you did something that you felt was right but you were punished you were punished for it, or something that you did, or let's just say um I don't want to say sad, but a moment where you were punished for doing something wrong. Can you remember
Ooh.
any?
Yeah, I was punished a lot as a child. Well, I won't say it was necessarily doing something wrong, but yeah, well, I was punished.
Mhm.
I was one that was getting punished a lot. I was a child that was always getting punished. But I wouldn't say
Mm,
it was necessarily something that was right,
mm,
because yeah, I usually deserve them. Now that I think about it, I usually deserve them. But the one I remember
mm,
now is there was a time when I was in SS2 where I drove my mom's old car. So she
mm,
had just got a new car. So she had an old car in the compound that
okay.
I told them the brake was bad, right? So brake bad. I drove it and I hit a part of our house.
I
Then
knew that was
the
where it
like
was going
yeah,
to.
yeah, the front part of the house. Keep in mind, the brake of the car was bad, but
Mm,
nobody listened to the fact that the brake was bad, right? It was
mm,
just this endless, scolding that came out
mm,
of it. And the thing I hated most growing up was when my mom calls my dad because he wasn't living, like, it was
mm.
always like he worked at a bank, so he's
Okay.
always in other states.
Mm,
That was what I hated the most, when my mom calls my dad to like report us. That
mm.
was so the punishment goes like this for my mom. She would shout at you, throw slippers, actually flog you, report you to your teachers, then the last one is report you
You're
to
that.
dad.
You're
So
that.
if it comes to reporting to dad, then like you must have screwed up. So yeah, that was no one listened to the fact that the brake
Mm,
of the car was bad, as I kept telling everybody. Like, it wasn't like I didn't know how to drive. I did not know how to drive, to be fair. But
mm,
I've been like moving, like, it was inside the compound. I've been moving cars since
mhm,
when I was in probably GSS 1. That was when like my dad left us with like one, like, my the car that my mom was like that my mom had replaced then. So that was
yeah.
when I've been moving the car, just move it a little bit. Like my mom would say, like, "Bamisun siwaju," help
Yeah.
me move
Yeah.
it a little bit. So like it wasn't like I didn't know how to do it, but the allegations against me were that I did not know how to do it and I did not listen to anybody. And I went to drive the car, and because she had a new car, that one
Mm,
was sitting there for so long. So I wanted to like just warm it a little bit. So I was told to
mm.
warm it, but I was like, "Oh, I'll move it around." And she said no. I did not listen, but that was not the point. The point is, I was punished for a car that the brake was bad, and no one really like said like, "Oh, how am I doing?" Like,
Mm,
no one really asked how I was doing because, as a kid in a Yoruba house, screw how you're
mm.
doing, I guess. But yeah, it was just like that was like I would say it was a sad moment, and yeah, for like because it was very bad. That period was bad. Like, a lot of people, like, family, friends. The next, like, if they see you, that's the first thing they will talk about. That,
Right.
oh, you're the one that spoiled the house, and like, it was
Oh
just
my
like a
god.
very not like it was not a pleasant time in
Mm.
history for me growing up. So yeah, that was one thing I remember. But every other thing on the record now, I did deserve the punishment. But that one, I still go on the record to say I did not deserve that.
Oh my god. I remember one of mine, that one that happened to me. Okay, I know. Okay, thinking about it now, also, it's a bad thing. Okay, sometimes they say the end justifies the means, but at this point, there's no way the end justified the means in any way. So what happened was, in our house, our generator had issues. The
Okay.
generator that we're using had issues. So I know we have been clamoring, let's get a new gen and all those kind of things. And the idea was, we wanted to help mommy and daddy to get a gen. So we said, so myself, my immediate elder brother, and my cousin, then we said, okay, let's contribute. I just didn't know how much we wanted to contribute. Then we are not making any money. We wanted to contribute to buy generator. I just did not know. So okay, we started contributing. Now, from me, where did I not start seeing money? I started taking money from. Okay, I'm about to shoot myself in the leg. I don't do this anymore. This was then, so, and I was seriously punished for it. So I remember I went to my mom's cupboard. So of course, you know the way they stack their clothes in the cupboard. So they'll stack it
Yeah.
under. There's always a they put newspaper. They do not put the clothes on top of it in that sense. So under the newspaper is where my mom used to put her money. So what I would do is, I would take the money, that money, and go and use it to save. So-
Well, I mean, see, let's be honest. Technically, you were still helping her with the gem. Technically.
oh my.
But don't do it, kids. It is bad.
So like that was the idea. So it felt right to me at that point in time that you are doing it for the right cause. It's not that you are spending it
Yeah.
to buy something that is insignificant. You are bringing the money together so that you will save to buy a generator.
Yeah.
So
Technically.
okay, so the day my mom caught me, Jesus Christ, no. I can say, ever since that time, I don't think my mommy has ever punished me that much. She has
Interesting.
never punished. She brought me to the room. She first of all flogged me. That was first thing. Secondly, I'm pretty sure something else must have happened. Maybe she was angry before she found out this is what I've been doing. She brought that time we use this grinding stone. She brought the grinding stone. She told me to kneel down. She told me to hold the grinding stone with my hands,
Damn.
kneeling down. So like there was the weight of the grinding stone, and your knee were still on the ground. Kneeling.
Yeah.
I was crying seriously. Mom said that if I should make any noise, that she would go and call police for me. That very night, it was as I said, that's like I told her like that was like the highest kind of punishment she has ever given me in my life. And ever since that time, I see someone's money. Your brain will be so no matter how good the cost might be, I don't use another person's money for
Yeah.
so that kind of it changed me in a big way. And yeah, even though I was doing it for the right reasons, at that point the end did not justify the means
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah. No.
in any way, in any way. In any way. So uh were there any as a child, growing up now, were there points or times where you had challenges and like things were okay, let me put it this way: were there times when you felt sad about stuffs, maybe something that happened? Or because from the conversation we had a bit earlier, you told me your dad died, so I just wanted to know, like, the time he died, at what age were you at that point in time when he died?
Mm. It's a good question. So
Yeah.
I don't think I was still a child, which
Okay.
technically I was. So, and coincidentally, that was 4 years ago today.
Wow.
That was 2020. So it was like I already found out around this time
Mm.
4 years ago. So I was not a child. I was. Are we allowed to say age? I was
If you want to
20.
try, there's no problem.
Yeah. Was I 20 or 21? I was 20.
Okay.
Was I even? Was I 20? I was around 20. Let's say I was around 20
Okay.
when he passed. No, I was 19. Yeah. I think I was going to be 20 like the week after or something.
Hmm.
I'm messing up the whole line, but I think I was either 20 or 19, one of the two. So yeah, it was it was a very, very sad time because it was unexpected. It
Hmm.
wasn't. I'm not saying some death I expected, but if it was, 80 something, right? Yoruba have this joke where you start preparing by the
Hmm.
time your parents start getting to 80, 90. But it was like in his mid 50s, and he wasn't sick particularly. He had like health issues, like every old like Nigerian, like these all this diabetes, hypertension, and like he had stuff he was managing with drugs basically. So it was
Hmm.
unexpected. It was just out of the blue. So that kind of experience would change you because
Hmm.
it was something none of us was ready for. And the whole scene back at home was very, very chaotic for me. And I started thinking about, okay, yeah, now someone has to step up. That's the next thing on your mind, right? So for me, it wasn't like a very, very well processed grief the time for me,
Hmm.
because I remember I was still living in a BQ in quarters back then. So when it happened, I was still in shock, and I just had someone come pick me from town because I went to like my dad's family friend's house or something. So I had someone pick me up from there, and I was very, very sad for God knows how long, but it wasn't like a very well processed grief because
Hmm.
I was already considered an adult, and someone needed to step up, and that was all I was thinking about around that time. Like, okay, yeah, someone needs to step up, and I was still sad. So it wasn't very well processed, but I processed it in my own way, in the sense that oh yeah, it was not, yeah, I did not process it very well, but I think I tried, considering, like, all things considered. People would call you and console you and stuff, but you have to start, like, I had to start thinking like, oh yeah, I'm not going to sit on my hands and
Hmm.
just take people's consolation. You get. So I had to start, thinking about, okay, now what's next for the family. I still had siblings that were like, I think that was when my junior sister was going to resume university. My junior brother was in probably SS1 or going to SS1. So like we still had bills, like we still had a lot of things that like we needed aim for, that I knew someone, now that responsibility would have to fall on someone, right? So I think that was what I was thinking about throughout the time, where I was still being sad. But yeah, that was one of like the saddest thing anyone can experience, right? Losing a parent. It was not very, very fun. But I think it created like an opportunity to step up, and I think I would like to say I did not disappoint, because I did step up very, very, very well. I took the responsibility on from then, and I've been, able to fill in I've been able to fill in the shoes. Or how do you normally say it? I'm able to fill the shoes he left
Yeah.
behind. Yeah, something like that. So that was my own way of dealing with it, making sure I fill those shoes properly in a way that he would be proud, looking down and saying like, oh yeah, the family, we're not starving, right? We're not begging. We're doing very, very well, and everyone in my house is doing very, very well. And thankfully, I think fun fact, I took an interview for a job like maybe 3 days after his funeral, because I like I said, I that was my own way of dealing with it. So I did not have the luxury of just crying all the time, and like all was going through my head was, okay, what's next? Like what do we do now? Like it like when shit hits the fan, you start thinking like, okay, what's the next course of action? So that was all I was thinking about. So I must have been applying for jobs like crazy during my mourning period for me to have an interview like few days after.
Yeah.
I think it was like maybe 3 days after the funeral, and thankfully I got the job back then, and I was able to use that to support people as much as I could, and I've been doing that ever since. And yeah, so that was a period of time where I've been very, very sad and about to deal with like a very, very great loss. But thankfully we came out much stronger. Everyone in my family did, and I'm sure wherever he's listening now, and I'm sure he must be very, very happy as well. He was very proud. Like we've all done very, very well since then.
Yeah, yeah, it's not something one wishes on anybody. Honestly, I
No,
if I
at all.
say if I say I understand, I'm lying, because I've never experienced it before. Honestly, and
Yeah,
I I don't wish to experience it, but I know I'm just imagining that I don't want you to die. Oh, please, well, I'm just imagining losing like one of my parents at this moment. Really, it's going to even though I'm not with them, even though I have my own life now in that sense, it's still going to have an effect on me one way or
yeah,
the other. Talk
yeah.
less
It's
of
going to.
when it's happening at that age where you feel
Yeah,
like, okay, I'm still, and like my support is still on them for a while and all that. And I know that has a way of changing. Number one,
yeah,
changes your thinking, the way you think now, the
yeah,
way
for
your
sure.
actions, the way you even do things now. And I just want to ask, like, were there any points during this period that maybe you felt you must have acted out in a way, because people have different ways of dealing with grief, right? And you mentioned that you focused on were focused on you kind of diverted the whole emotion or
Yeah,
energy into something else, which is, you said you were applying for a job like crazy just
yeah,
to get a job
yeah.
and all that. Have you had a discussion with, like, this discussion with someone before, like, of how you felt when your dad died, like proper discussion, not like I don't want to say therapy session, because and there's this kind of stigma around it, but have you ever spoken to somebody about how you felt when he died,
Yeah,
when that, yeah.
yeah. I did. It was a very interesting time, but I think I spoke to a few people. My girlfriend at the time,
Okay.
she was the one that was like, so around that time. All I did was I did not even eat for like a week. All I had
Oh.
was Hollandia. So I remember having a lot of Hollandia. So I had a lot of
Mm.
Hollandia. So she would bring me Hollandia, then we'll talk, and yeah, talk about it. But yeah, I knew it was not like a very healthy way of dealing with things, not talking about it. And I've spoken to William about it before as well.
Mm,
We had like a very like William and I have like we're very good friends. Is like someone that we talk like maybe once or twice a year.
mhm.
So that year when we talked, we had like a very very long conversation, and he actually asked me like how I'm doing and how I'm feeling, and yeah, it was very very good conversation with good people, and I'm glad I had those people to talk to back then. But yeah, not really, like, not like a therapist or something. My fear, my fear with therapists is they will diagnose me with something I'm not willing to admit. The
Yeah.
company Yellow Card pays for like a therapy session, but
Mhm.
one of these days I will use it. But I'm scared the therapist would want to get their boss involved. But
Yeah.
that's not something you want to know when we
Mm,
start speaking to a therapist and they're like, oh yeah, let me get my boss on the line. We need to it's a two-man job. Not
mm,
something you're willing to hear. Well, yeah, it's
yeah.
all good. I dealt with it my own way, and I was able to talk to people back then because when you don't talk about things, you don't really know, like you don't really understand how. You might not really understand how you're feeling. You don't
Mm,
really like say it out to people. So I had people then that I spoke to, and yeah, we talked about how it was affecting me and just general conversation around it.
yeah. It's good. It's good. And the experience has that shaped you to be the person you are at the moment right now.
Yeah, it has shaped me massively, right? So up until when it happened, I was, someone was responsible for me, right? I was
Mm,
someone's child, right? Like, you have like, oh, I have a dad who is responsible for me in a way, But the moment it happened, you kind of realize, oh wait, yeah, that's not like we did not have uncles or like other family members, but you start thinking about your own immediate family. They are like, they are they became my responsibility. I had to be responsible for them, and
mm,
it's so the thing. I'm not the kind of the I won't say I wasn't responsible before then. I was obviously responsible, but it made me more of a responsible
conscious.
person, like yeah, like more conscious with like responsibility, like okay, now you're responsible for this and that, and you have to actually start thinking about those responsibility actively, as opposed to like when the thinking then was like, oh, if I can't figure it out, I'll call my dad or
That.
something, like I'll talk to my dad about it. But when you don't have anybody to call and you're the one people are calling when they want to figure things out, then you start getting smarter and you start
Mm,
like, oh wow, now it's just you and all the other people you're responsible for. So it was just like an eye-opening moment and like a ve- I won't say it was a bad learning curve, but it was a very good learning curve because there were not things I was generally comfortable with that I started out like I needed to start doing them, but like
mm.
I got very very like I got much better at it, at like the whole family thing, and it brought me closer to my family actually. And yeah,
Wow.
that kind of thing would shape you whether you like it or not, like whether you're ready for it or not. I was not really ready, but I was able to step in and yeah, made myself ready.
Just one thing I can say is you have done a very good job. The very little I know about you. Now I don't know I don't know everything about you, but the little I know about you is you have done a very good job. And I had about I think of recently your sister got married, and and
Yeah,
I know your sister. Funny thing, I knew her from when I went for pre-degree. So I knew both of you separately. I knew your sister, I knew you. Then I was like, okay, so this person is this person's sister. So that was like how it all happened. And no, I had she got my. I wish I could have attended the wedding, but I could not come around. And I'm happy the whole thing was a success. I just wanted to know that, see, you have done good, good, and it's not easy for people to kind of spring up from that kind of experience and bring out something good for themselves. There's some people that was the experience that kind of destroyed them in that sense, and
yeah,
just didn't know how to
yeah,
be able to come back and be who they are supposed to be, but you have been able to spring
Yeah.
up from it, and bring out something good out of it. There's this Yoruba adage I say that, yeah, sorry, is in a black pot that a white, what do they call, is it white pap comes? I don't know the
Like,
English of
is it
echo.
a white pap or something?
A white pap, exactly. So they said it's from a black pot that a
Echo.
white
Yeah.
pap comes out from. So if in those kind of situations are things that would change some people's perspective about life, and they find it very difficult to be able to come back to reality. From there, some people have decided to, like, they don't care anymore about life,
Yeah.
that if the most precious person to them just went like that, why should they give a damn about what's going on in life? And but you have been able to do
Yeah.
great,
Yeah.
honestly, and I'm so happy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I honestly don't blame people who react that way.
As a child, right now, there were dreams and aspirations. Now, what were
Yes.
they? What were like your dreams and aspirations, and kind of compare with what you are doing at the moment? How how far apart are they? Or probably they are, maybe your dreams are actually what you are doing, accomplishing at the moment.
Mm, in like growing up, right? My dad worked in a bank, so he was. I'm not even sure if he was an accountant, but he worked in a bank. Like he was like a senior staff at a bank, growing up. So for me, growing up, I wanted to be an accountant, that to work in finance. I wanted to
Mm,
be an accountant because my dad wore suits a lot, right? And I always thought that was very cool. Like oh, even though I don't have one suit now, that's how different my dreams have come from what I currently do. I don't think I have one suit now. I have
mm.
one from our defense, but it barely counts as a suit
I
because
think that I think that's the only time I've actually seen you wear suit.
yeah.
I think.
Good.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
Go on, go on.
Yeah, so
Oh.
growing up, I wanted to work in a bank. I wanted to be like an accountant, work in a bank, and this went on for so long up until like probably senior secondary school, maybe like SS2, like up until we had to choose whether we're going to science or arts class. I
Mm,
was still always like, oh, I want to work in a bank because I remember in GSS3, I did business studies because, I wanted to be a bank person. So I must do business studies. And that was the only reason. So, like,
mm,
from when I was very, very little, probably as far back as like maybe primary five, I've always wanted to be like work in a bank, be a banker, work with. Because my thinking then, no one told me, but my thinking was, if you work in a bank, then you have so much money because you work with money, right? So
mhm.
that was what I was thinking. So I guess growing up, my dreams were to be a chairman or to be a rich person. But like I wasn't like others in class that would say like, yo, I want to be a doctor, I want to be like a lawyer,
Mm,
I want to be a pilot. Those were very common. And when it comes to me,
mm,
I'm always like, yeah, I want to be an accountant. I want to work in a bank or something. So those were like my dreams growing up. Those were like the things I thought I was going to do. And you can imagine how much that has changed compared to now. But it started changing when I think I remember the day it changed. It was in our sitting room, and I showed my dad something I made with paints. And one of his co-workers was there. Someone that reported to him was in our house that time, Uncle Ayodeji. Yeah, he was in our
mm,
house that time. And I told him like, oh, like you can you see what I did with paints? Because I think I've had a computer since I was very, very little. Like my dad's computer, but it was quote unquote, it was kind of like my own. But my dad's home computer, I used to play with it a lot when I was younger. Windows, it wasn't Windows Vista or Windows like before Windows 7. So I used to play with
mm,
computers a lot. I used to play Robocop, sorry, Virtual Cop. That game
yeah.
was very popular. So I've always been around computers. So I remember then, I think that was when I was in SS1, I did something with paint. Because I had this very talented friend. She is currently in computer now. He could draw, he could use Corel Draw and make like very nice cars. He's probably one of the most talented people I knew
Mm,
growing up. She was very, very talented. So he would draw like hyper realistic cars on Corel Draw,
mm,
crazy stuff. So me, as per low budget she that time, I would use paint to paint stuff, and I was getting good at paint, but it wasn't like really, really artistic or beautiful. But it was like I would be able to like do like a car and feel the colors. I knew very advanced stuff with paint. I used to do crazy stuff with paint then. Like I could cut the background of a picture with paint. I have no idea how I could do it now, but like I knew I could do stuff like that. So I showed my dad, and his co-worker was there. Like, oh, I drew this with paint and it looks very nice. And I was like, oh, and I'm good with this computer thing, or that won't I consider doing it in like doing it as actual like studying computer? So that was when I was like, oh, interesting. Maybe I would go to science class and maybe I would do computer. So it was from there that everything changed for me. Because up until that moment, I've always wanted to do finance. I've always thought I would be, I'll be wearing suit up and down. Thank God I am not. I've always thought, I'll be wearing suits, doing finance stuff, pressing. When I used to see my dad do it that time. It seemed very, very cool. I think that was what I was going for. But
Mm.
yeah, that was when it changed. So I decided to do computer instead of finance that I set my heart out to do. And yeah, it's I would say the dream compared to the reality is completely different. I mean, I work at a fintech, but it's completely different. Now we're writing if and else, debugging stuff, making sure like things stay up and running. It's crazy. So I would say it's kind of close, but very, very far because it's in finance. And yeah, it's close enough, but it's
Mm.
very, very far. But the defining moment was when I was told like, oh, maybe I should do this computer thing. And from there,
Mm.
I ran with it, went to a boot camp. The rest is history. So yeah, the reality is much different compared to what I wanted to do. Very, very different.
Yeah, from my own side, uh, what is it? I really did not know what I wanted to do. Truth be told, I just knew that okay, it was like everything was just like okay, you have to go to school, right? You have to go to school,
Yeah, yeah.
and so I had parents. I remember when I wanted to write jam. Then okay, I can say one of the I remember when I wanted to write jam. I was not necessarily. I know I did science. Everybody there was influence, right? My dad was a science student. My dad did science. My
Yeah,
elder
those
brother,
kind of things
so
influence you.
it just influenced. Okay, let's
Yeah,
do science, right? Okay, I did science. I was a science class then. University, it was about. Yes, it was at that point that I needed to now pick what I needed to study, and my dad was of the opinion, she's a doctor now. At any doctor company family, wow, those kind of things. That it's very easy to be able to get no that kind of prepared lifestyle where you know that okay, after this thing, you know that this is coming. That
yeah,
like you already know what the future holds in that sense, right?
yeah,
Okay, so that okay, I'll be a doctor now. Yeah, they get jobs easily after being a doctor and all those kind of things. And I remember there was a time I went to the hospital. I just did not like the whole like I just did not like the whole stuff like doctor and all that. Like I don't think this is for me. And as at that point, my immediate elder brother, no, not my immediate elder brother, my eldest brother, like we are three. So my eldest brother then was working. Was it working? No, it was in elect. So it was in elect. It was in iLab. I don't know if you know about iLab. You must have heard of
yeah,
it,
yeah.
right?
I
So
remember I
it
love.
was like one of the pioneers for iLab. So he was into all this robotics and computer stuff. And I think it was also around that point Python started. I think it was around that point. So that was like the first time, sometimes he'll come home, he'll bring all these Lego packs, their kids packs and everything. We'll bring it home,
Yeah,
set it up. Like, so that was just wow, this is this is nice. And because of that, I think there was a time he traveled, he went to represent IOU in one iLab thing. They traveled to Dubai at that point. That was like a defining moment for me. Like, no, I am also going to travel to Dubai for this. Honestly, that was like the main reason why I decided I was going to do computer science. And I was like, yeah, he's in elect, but what he was doing was something that was even related to computer science, not
computer.
even like
Yeah,
elect. I don't think my brother can. can repair wire in his house to save himself. As it stands right now, I don't think he can. I don't think he can. So I was like, okay, computer science it is, and I went into computer science, and my mind entering computer science, my mind opened to different arms of computer science. Like, okay, I think this is the arm I want
Yeah.
to go into, which is product design, and I've been pursuing that for the past 5 years, and I've been doing that consistently, and I'm happy doing it, and I love doing it. And
But we're in
so
design.
yeah, I remember that. God, oh my God,
That's
those.
Khalid's day. That's Khalid. But we're in design.
Oh my God, I remember that was like I think it was like part two or something. I just said that
Yeah.
let me just design something and just send it to the group and all that, just to kind of keep myself busy doing stuffs and all that.
Yeah.
Then I remember also when I was a kid that I also wanted to have a business, because I just felt like in my own mind, people with business had money, and so it has been a dream for me to own the business. Even though I was not really, after a while it died down, but after like 2 years ago now, I started my own business, and it was like me fulfilling a childhood fantasy
That's the
at that
dream.
point in
Yeah.
time. And I like the fact that I started the business. I'm learning stuff. So I'm not a business guy. I don't know A to Z of business, but it's opening my mind up to what business is all about, what it actually takes to actually make money.
Yeah.
It's not that because we have business, money just starts flowing in that sense. So I am happy doing it. So in a way, for me, there's the childhood fantasy of me owning a business, which I have, and there's the part of me not knowing what I wanted to do, but based on the way life was throwing at me, I was able to pick what exactly I wanted, which was my career, which is product design that I'm doing. So yeah, I can say a bit of my childhood dream was accomplished, which is a business, and there was also
Nice.
the part where I had to figure things out myself. I could not just rely on childhood dreams. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
That's actually very good. Like you're
mm,
doing something that's a childhood dream. Because like when people say like, oh, childhood dream come true or something, I
mhm,
don't know what that would be for me right now,
mm,
when like, because like I wanted to be like an accountant, but I don't think if I become an accountant now, I would see it as like a childhood dream,
dream.
right?
Mm,
Someone would probably think I was dropped on my head maybe some days ago, like go and become an accountant, because I'm not really all about that again. So I
mm.
think, what would I say? Maybe eating nice bread and egg would be a childhood dream for me right now. But I always find it interesting when people fulfill their childhood dreams. It makes me
Mm,
very happy for them. But
mm,
for me, maybe I was not much of a dreamer, maybe.
mm.
But yeah, when I eventually have money, I will say I fulfilled my childhood dream. So let's put it that way. When I eventually have money, I will say I fulfilled my childhood dream.
The end goal was just money.
Yeah,
Money,
yeah,
like the childhood dream was money.
exactly. So when I eventually have money, I'll say yes, I fulfilled it. Dream come true.
Mm, that's nice. So, one last question, and honestly, we are done this time around. If you could give a piece of advice to your childhood self, what would it be?
Hmm. Hmm. That's it. That's a good one. That's another good one. Like your questions are very very, like, maybe it's because it's the first time I'm doing any kind of like podcast, but they're very very,
Okay.
like, um they make you think.
Mm,
And while I say my feelers, I'm trying to think of what I'll tell myself. But yeah, if I'm to advise my younger self, right, I would say, you know, hard work pays, and not to give up. Because
mm,
like I wouldn't say I never give up at any point, right? The time I started writing code, I never gave up. But what I would say is, just to make sure he's having a better time you know than I did. Just like something,
mm,
just console him. Like, don't worry, it gets better. Like, if there's someone that will just tell you like, oh, don't worry, it gets better. Hard work pays. So that was I think that was Lake's status from like 2017. It
mm.
was like, hard work pays. Hard work is not a Shola. That was when I was going like 10 billion months of salary. So yeah, that's, if I
Uh,
could advise anyone or my younger self, I would say just keep at it. Like, it will end up paying off eventually, and it's something I probably even need to hear now. Like, whatever you're
mm,
doing, it will end up paying off. Like, just wait and see, and don't give up. Like, it doesn't do you any favor when you
Mm.
give up, because you would never
Yeah.
know what could have happened, right?
Pond.
So the
Yeah.
best thing is not to give up and try to see it to the end. So yeah,
Okay.
that's one advice I would give my younger self.
That's a good word.
Yeah,
That's a good
yeah,
word.
and
So.
be a good child. Though I'll tell myself to be a good child too.
Oh my god. We have a tradition on DOTAG, and what we do is the last guest would
Mhm.
leave a question for the next guest to answer. So
Interesting.
my mom left a question for you to answer.
Okay.
So you also do the same thing too. So you leave a question for the next guest. I don't know who the next guest is going to be. So the next guest
Okay.
will get to answer your own question.
Bring
So the
Tinubu
question
next.
so the question my mom asks is, in case you don't achieve your goals early in life, will you give up?
That's literally what I just said. That's funny. So no, no. It's like if I don't, I'll just keep going, and it's something I've had to, something that when people look at like our generation now and they see like, oh, he's just 26, he's just 25, he
Mm,
must not have gone through a lot. Well, like I will
mm,
tell you, we've gone through enough, right? So it's something I've gone through all through, like when I was in university. I don't think this is news, but there was a time I was working for someone that paid favor, and I like, you know, the, you can, maybe favor doesn't want to be mentioned, but there was a time I worked for someone that paid me 30K per month, and it's
mm,
even reduced to like 15K. And I
mm,
was using that to learn back end, and it didn't seem like things were working out. And I would even tell you for a fact, right? Things started working out for me as a software engineer after IT, like
mm,
2019, 2020. And that was
mm,
like a good, like 2015 to 2019, like a good like 2019, 2020, like a good 4 or 5 years
mm,
into writing code, right? Where like it just seemed like, I was not getting any internship, I was just doing projects for people. Just, I advertised myself then. Like, if you want to do website, I'll do website for you and your dad, that kind of stuff. It didn't seem
mm,
like it was working, right? But I kept on doing it, and like that was the only, because to me that was the only thing I knew how to do really, really well. So the only option I had was just to keep doing it, right? So if I don't achieve my goals early in life, I'm not going to hold life to it, right? I'll just keep doing what I do, and yeah, keep trying to make things work till it eventually works out. So
mm.
that's
Wow,
my way of
that's
dealing with life.
that's a good answer.
Yeah.
What question would you like to leave for the next guest on the show?
Yeah. My own question would be, if you could do things differently, like if you look at your life now, if you could do things differently, what would you do differently? Like
Okay.
seeing how your life turned out, because now you've seen your life play out. If you could do something differently, what would you do differently? That's my question for the next guest. Hopefully it's
Right.
Tinubu, so you tell us that you won't run for president.
There's not going to be any different thing. You should just move.
You should not run for president.
Oh my god. Oh my, hopefully, Tinubu, if you're hearing this, I don't mind having you on Dota chat.
Speak to Tayo. Tayo will help you get on the podcast. Don't worry.
Oh
It's fine.
god. It's fine, yeah. Okay, James, it's nice having you on the show, and I'm really, really happy that you're able to take the time to be on the show. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you. I know you are very busy, but you're able to
Thank you very
just
much.
carve out time to be able to be here. And thank
Thank
you
you
so
very
much
much.
for being on the
Thank
show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah.
I'm very, very happy to be here. And to Iyanu, that I had to cancel our sync. This is what I was doing. I did not lie. So we'll meet again later. But yeah, I'm very, very happy to be here. I'm excited to be here. I've been following your podcast for a while. So thanks for
Yeah.
having me. And yeah, wishing you all the
Yeah.
best.
Thank you, James. Thank you so much. And to all our listeners, guys, please, if you haven't followed us on this podcast, please do either on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever it is you're listening from. Please, now I think the podcast is now available on YouTube. You can just search on YouTube and you should be able to see that. It's just DOTAG. So please, you guys, be a part of it, and I can assure you, we'll keep bringing much more interesting guests on the show. So speak and just share their mind and talk about the experience so far. And yeah, I'm happy to serve you guys better. So have a wonderful, wonderful day. Take care.